Have you heard the phrase, we've got our wires crossed? Any of you guys heard that phrase? We've got our wires crossed. Yeah, it's a phrase that sometimes when we say it, it means that we've gotten it mixed up. We've gotten something mixed up. And like when you thought your mom said she was going to pick you up at Wendy's after school, when really she said, I'm going to pick you up Wednesday after school. It's a big thing. Like that's like getting your wires crossed. Completely different. Or your teacher said, you better finish this project Sunday, and it's due next week, right? And you heard, you better finish this project someday. Completely different, right? Completely different. And if you hear someday instead of Sunday, you may just never do your project. Maybe you're wondering where this phrase comes from. And it actually comes from phones. And most of us have phones like this, right? iPhones. And our phones today are completely wireless. Even like 2-3 years ago, our phones were still like wireless, but they looked a little different. They looked like flip phones. Not 2-3 years ago. Like when I was younger, they were like flip phones. Some of your parents may still have them. I'm sorry if they do. But they go like this. My first phone was like this dark gray Nokia, I think. And it was like this skinny, and it flipped. And then I went to a slide phone. This is giving you all things. But then they were still wireless, right? But then if you go back probably 15 years ago, let's say that, phones were like hung on walls. They were wireless still, but they had to have a port to charge I don't know if you guys have seen this. They still had a wire running to the base of the phone, but you could talk to it wirelessly. But then, even before that, there were phones on the walls that had cords running from the phone to the base. And then, there were also these cell phones at one point. I don't know if you've seen the commercial recently. Like, it was the iPhone Forever commercial, I think, probably, where they walked in and he had a phone this big, and he was talking into it. Those were like the first OG cell phones. They were huge, but they were wireless, and so people were like, I can go anywhere. But then, and then you have the really old phones. Do you know what the really old phones are like? They sit there. You've probably seen them on TV where they've got like the rotary. You go shh, and you spin to a number. I can say this is going to date me. I never used one of those phones. And your leaders are like, well, we did, so that's not nice. But then, even before that, there were phones where you picked up, even before like the rotary phones, like where you spun to dial. Even before that, you picked up the phone and you just talked into it and said, hey, can you connect me to Bob? And so you would talk to an operator who's on the other line, and you'd say, I need to talk to Bob. And sometimes Bob would end up being George because the operator would connect you to the wrong person. And so this is where that's weird, right? Right? Like having to tell someone who you want to call. We can tell Siri who we want to call, but she's like not actually going to take a wire from our port and put it into Bob's port. But that's where that phrase comes from. We got our wires crossed because sometimes you would call Bob and you would get George, and it's you'd go, oops, sorry, we got our wires crossed. But think about if you were that operator. Like you're sitting there on the phone because you have to stay on the phone, and you probably overhear some weird stuff, like some crazy stuff. And so that's where the phrase comes from, where you got your wires crossed because you would be going to the wrong person, or you would cross wires with somebody. And so have you ever had your wires crossed with someone? At home, you're surrounded by some of the craziest people you ever experience. They can drive you crazy, right? Your family, they drive you nuts. Without a doubt, some wires will end up being crossed. You'll get mixed up. You'll get confused. You'll get all messed up. And then at school, there are so many different demands that we have to meet. Our deadlines, our teachers want us to do things, and not to mention our school counselors and our coaches. And then In your attempt to juggle it all, your wires get crossed. You get things mixed up. You think you're supposed to show up to practice at this time, but it was this time, and you're actually supposed to be somewhere else taking a test, and everything gets mixed up. And so with your friends, it can feel even worse. It can feel like you need a bomb squad to even navigate the conversations, right? You have the conversations with your friends, and there are so many different personalities. There's like a history between this friend and that friend, and so you can't talk to this friend about that friend, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. It happens, right? And then there are things you have to remember that you can't mix up with other friends. Like if this friend likes this friend, but this friend's actually dating that friend, like triangle kind of thing. Yeah, so actually, this happened to me legitimately in high school. I had a friend, I'm not going to name his name, and he was dating this girl. And I had another friend, my two best friends. This other friend liked the girl this guy was dating. But I couldn't tell this guy that this guy liked his girlfriend. And so, I know this is high school drama to the like umpteenth, and you guys really miss it, don't you? Like COVID has killed all of this drama, right? But like legitimately, I had to go through and had to remember, oh wait, no, this is the conversation I had with him, not with him, and I couldn't. And then eventually I just like messed up. I said to this friend, the one that was dating the girl, that this friend, like I said like something about the conversation I'd literally just had with him. I was like, oh yeah, we were just talking about that. And he's like, no, we weren't. This friend was like, no, we weren't. Like I haven't even told you that. And I was like, okay, well, and so it was this big fight and everything, like it was crazy. You guys know what I'm talking about because you've probably experienced it. But times are crazy. Like trying to keep personalities, friends together, and figure out exactly what's going on is crazy. But the point is, it can feel like no matter what we are, where we turn in our lives, there's always the potential for crossed wires, right? With every relationship, there's the potential for disaster, for hurt, for anger. And does that mean that we're simply supposed to not live life with people? And some of you guys are like, woohoo, I don't have to live life with anybody. I'm going to shut my door, slap a sign on the door that says nobody enter. I'm going to be a hermit the rest of my life. Some of you guys think that's a great idea, but that's not what we need to do to avoid conflict or confusion. And we're pretty much guaranteed that there are going to be misunderstandings and miscommunications all the time, right? That's the tension we have in our lives. It's something we have to deal with. And as much as we would like to disconnect our wires from other people, to be completely disconnected from people, it's just not what we do. It's not an option because we are wired for something different. Every single one of us are wired from something different. And so the last few weeks, we've been talking about the creation story. Remember, we've been in the book of Genesis. We've talked about the creation story and how God created each one of us a certain way. God created us, Adam and Eve, a certain way. And Adam, whenever he was created, had a certain job. I don't know if you guys remember the story. And his job was to care for the garden. And when he was caring for the garden, he literally got up in the morning, talked to the animals, cared for the garden, named the animals. But we aren't told how long Adam is actually working solo, all by himself. Could have been days, could have been years. But then God noticed something. God noticed something, and this is Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 says this: it is not good for man to be alone. That's what God said. And out of everything that God made, that's the only thing that God said was not good. He said it was not good for man to be alone. And so God had a solution. His solution was for him to take a rib out of Adam. He made Adam go to sleep. He took his rib out of him, and he created Eve so that he could have a perfect helpmate. But God just wasn't saying that Adam needed a wife. He didn't just need a wife. God was saying Adam needed company. Adam needed conversation. Adam needed community. And giraffes and monkeys, they just weren't cutting it for Adam, right? he could talk to them, but they were not talking back to him. And it was so different whenever God gave him Eve. God created a person perfect for him. And so from the beginning of time, God wired each one of us for community. He wired each one of us so that we could be in community because it is part of our DNA that we needed to be with other people. And community is completely about other people. But it's more than that too. It's a commitment to helping people. It's a commitment to bettering people. It's a commitment to helping people be better people and helping them even when it's inconvenient, even when it's frustrating, and even when we get our wires crossed. And so community is about connecting. Again, I'm going to say that. Community is about connecting. And so in the book of Matthew, Jesus tells his disciples the two main things that they needed to do. They were asking him, God, Jesus, what do we need to do? What are the main laws? And so he gave them two things, important things in life. Number one, love God. And number two, love people. And so Jesus gave them two things. And it actually says this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And the second is like this: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and all the prophets hang on such things. And so that's Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 through 40. See, God saw that it was not good for man to be alone, so he created Eve to be with him. And so part of his plan was for us to live life with each other. But then Jesus takes it one step further. Jesus says, don't just be in community with other people. He says, love other people. That's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to love the people you're with all the time, isn't it? Your siblings are sometimes hard to love, right? Right? Yes. They drive you crazy. But Jesus says, don't just be in community, love your community. Because here's the deal. Loving God is just the start of what we have to do. And if we're going to love God, each one of us are created in the image of God, right? That's what we talked about in Genesis 1. God created us, each one of us, in his image. And so each one of us has a part of God in us. And so in order to love God, like it says in that commandment, to love God, we have to love other people. We have to love our neighbors. And not just our neighbors, but everybody in our community. Everybody we are connected with. If we want to show God how much we love him, then we need to really get good at loving each other. It can be hard to love each other sometimes. But we need to do it. In other words, we need to cross our wires without getting our wires crossed. And back to that story about my friends and all that. So ends up they don't talk to each other for 2 months. And I'm in the middle. I'm hanging out with both of them at separate times. It's really dirty. But eventually we get close to graduation and they become friends again. We have a pool party at my friend's house that had the girlfriend. They both broke every ties with the girl. It was all good because, guys are supposed to be friends for life. I don't talk to any of them anymore. But that's what high school sometimes is. When you move away thousands of miles, you lose some of those relationships. But things worked themselves out. They became friends again. They're still friends to this day. One was in the other's wedding recently. And so it just worked out. See, God's plan for your life is for you to demonstrate who he is by you connecting with and caring for those around you. God's plan for you is to be in community with other people and for you to love those people well. And that happens by crossing your wires, by being connected with other people and being connected to the people all around you. And this isn't always easy, is it? It's not always easy to be connected with people around you. It would be easier if the people that were exactly like us, right? If the people looked like us, they dressed like us, they talked like us, they listened to the same kind of music like us, they ate the same kind of food as us, they thought about the same things, they liked the same kind of jokes. I mean, if everybody was exactly like us, right, everything would be perfect, right? And it's easy. And it sounds easy. Because basically you would be friends with yourself. And sometimes being friends with yourself is good, but you can't just be in community with yourself. The world is made up of a lot of different people, a lot of people who are nothing like us. But the good thing is there's a lot of people nothing like us. And so it helps us to see the world in a broader perspective and to love people greater. And you could actually you don't even have to go halfway around the world to see that there are people different than you. You can probably just walk down the hallway at home and look at your brother or sister's room and go, wow, these people are completely different than me, right? And it's good. It's fine. Or you can walk down the hallway and then see your mom, and your mom probably acts like they're from a completely different time period, right? Like, they're like, back in my day, we used to do this. I know your parents aren't that old, but sometimes they say things like, whenever I was a kid, we did this. And it's just different. See, people right in front of our eyes are different from you. They challenge you when you come to, and it can challenge you when you come to connecting with other people. You see, Jesus told us to love our neighbor. And it isn't just about your family. It also is about your friends and the people you come in contact with. When you're on the Zooms with your schools, be nice to your teachers. Actually listen to your teachers. Don't just black screen them and just be there. Some of you guys are getting convicted right now because you walk in and you don't turn your screen on, don't turn your camera on. But turn your camera on. Talk to your teacher. Say hi. Write them a nice message. School's almost out. Just make their day one day. It's almost over. Come on. It's good. But what about the kids that are with you in algebra class or in social studies or in band? You have different people probably from different parts of the world in those classes with you, right? People who have moved from different sides of the country or who have moved from Mexico, from Kenya or somewhere else in the world, maybe in your class, from different backgrounds, different belief systems, different people. And these are all people God wants you to connect with too. Because God calls us to be in community, to connect with one another. So what does it look like to love the people around you? It starts by accepting people for who they are instead of judging them. Because they're different. We choose to accept all of them, differences and all. Accepting people who are different from us is a way to appreciate and love God and love other people as well. But don't just stop there. Loving others is about more than just accepting them. Loving others is about more than just accepting them. I'm guessing there are people in your life who need more than just acceptance in your life. They need you to love them. They need you to show them that they are loved. They might need your time, your encouragement, your generosity, or your kind words. These are all ways to love other people and to love God at the same time, because each one of us are made in the image of God. We're created to connect with other people, and sometimes connecting with other people can be messy. And so I want to challenge you this week, connect with someone and start to think about some person you wouldn't ordinarily connect with. Maybe it's a classmate. Maybe it's actually talking to your teacher. Maybe it's someone that you're going to see at church, or it's somebody somewhere that you would never normally connect with. Connect with them and show them the love of God and how He created them to be loved, and show them exactly what that is. Think about how you can better connect with someone you do know this week. Maybe it's a step sibling, a friend, or even a teacher. But think of someone you can show their acceptance to. It doesn't have to be big and dramatic. Just show them that you want to connect with them even more by just having a conversation. And so as you break off into groups today, I want you to think about this question. How can you love God by showing more love to others? How can you love God by showing more love to others? Let's pray. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for loving us. And God, thank you so much for your son. God, thank you for his example and his words on how we're supposed to love each other. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. All right.